Dracula's Bite on the Side. Side 2.
Well, well, what an unpleasant little community this is turning out to be. I hope the bad weather may clear before too long and allow me to continue my journey to the capital. But first, I hope to discover which of you has been responsible for young Bella's death. It is unfortunate that the constant snow has covered any footprints which might have provided useful clues, and the icy conditions today make it hard to be precise about the time of death. However, I can estimate that Bella died between 4 and 8 p.m. I suggest that we should now concentrate on where everyone was between these times, who had the opportunity, as well as the motive, to murder Bella. Her body was found in the cave. Was this a familiar haunt for the murderer? Did Bella go there of her own free will? Was she kidnapped or persuaded? We know that Ivan left a note asking Romany to meet him at the cave at 5 o'clock. He said she never turned up, and she says she never received the note. Does this note have something to do with Bella's presence at the cave? Did she tell anyone that she was intending to go out this afternoon? Each of you knows the answers to some of these questions. Between you, you should be able to reveal them all. Remember that Bella was not killed simply. Certain glands had been removed in a manner which suggests some surgical knowledge, or at least a firm purpose. What was the murderer's intention? I can now tell you that when Bella was found, she was wearing only one garter. Did she lose the other in a struggle? And where is it now? And I have found a letter in the poor girl's pocket. One of you will recognize it, and someone will be required to read it out shortly. It may prove highly significant. Finally, I would remind you that the murder may have been committed by more than one person. Listen very carefully to each other's statements, as many clues are bound to emerge. And bear in mind that if you have yourself committed a lesser sin or a previous crime, it is in your interest to admit this rather than to stand accused of a murder you have not committed. Don't forget that tonight we are only concerned with apprehending the person or persons who killed Bella. The so-called curse killings of recent years may or may not be connected with this. Please continue. The truth must now be unmasked.
Stop the tape until completion of the last round.
Well, this has been a sorry introduction to your beautiful country. I am dismayed at the level of deception, and yes, downright evil I have found here tonight. Thankfully, however, my presence has been of some use. Having made my investigations, I am now able to reveal the identity of the person who murdered Bella. Dr. Frankenstein, you were afraid that your career would be ruined for good if Bella chose to expose your brutal crimes against the lunatics. Did you perform the hateful deed? Clean the kitchen sink, yeah? Did you make a second and successful attempt on Bella's life to ensure the girl's silence over your thieving activities and so secure your job? Or did you let Herr Munster into the castle this afternoon instead of turning him away as you allege? Were the two of you in league? Herr Munster, you lusted after Bella, who had rejected your advances, and with the local elections being held next week, your status in Kilimov was threatened by her knowledge that you received stolen goods from the castle. Did you assault her again tonight and kill her in a struggle? Or perhaps collude with Cleaner, your old partner in crime? Fräulein von Sternhandling, you are filled with envy for your pupil's wealth and good fortune in romance. Did you attack her to make sure of your inheritance and perhaps to win the Count's hand in marriage? Indeed, Count Dracula. Were you in league with the governess, prompted by financial desperation? You had proposed to Bella yourself. Were you simply unable to control your jealousy of Ivan and your rage at being defied by your ward in her choice of bridegroom? Romany Geramov, you are ruled by tempestuous passions and have already knifed to death another of your rivals in love. It is no secret that you hated the deceased. Did you kill her in revenge for taking Ivan from you? And Ivan even Stitch. What an unworthy fiancé you've turned out to be. Money has been the true love of your life, for whose sake you have committed many vile deeds. You killed those poor village girls to provide the Baroness with her elixir and hoped to cloak your infamy by exploiting the locals' fear of the ancient curse. Did you murder Bella in anger at discovering that she chose not to marry you after all, and thus had thwarted your plans of a grand life in the capital? All of you had a motive to commit this hideous crime, but in fact, none of you is the culprit. Baroness Bleakheart, your wickedness has been unmasked at last. A pity, for you indeed were once good, kind and lovely, but the Baron's rejection of you in favour of a younger woman sadly perverted your senses, and you provoked his untimely death. When you returned to kill him off, you hoped to rekindle your romance with the Count, but he could no longer return your feelings, and you convinced yourself that the youthful charms of his ward, Bella, had blinded him to his love for you. You became obsessed with the notion of enhancing your own beauty in an attempt to win him back, and persuaded Ivan to supply you with a youth elixir. When Ivan told you he would no longer do this because his marriage to Bella would take him out of the district and her money would banish his dependency on you, your resentment of her knew no bounds. This morning, you went to the cottage in the hope of persuading Ivan to change his mind. But it was 9:45 when you arrived, and you had just missed him. It was luck that enabled you to find the note he left for Romany. But calculated evil led you to change the time from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. and to readdress it to Bella. You left it in the castle postbox with the dressmaker's bill. When your servants had all left in preparation for winter solstice, you seized a knife from the kitchen. Planting the tailor's dummy in your window to fool passers-by into thinking you were in your room as usual, you slipped out to the cave. It was 5:45 when you saw Ivan leaving and went to hide inside the cavern. Bella arrived at 6 p.m., expecting to meet her lover. You took her by surprise, viciously slashed her throat, and removed the glands you needed for the elixir. You returned home, dumping your outer cloak and the murder weapon in the woods. Herr Munster saw you re-entering the house at 7 p.m., but was confused by the dummy in your window. You removed this, washed and dressed for dinner, in time to pick up the innkeeper in your carriage at 7:30 p.m. A shocking tale. Baroness, I am placing you under house arrest until you can be escorted to jail and massacred tomorrow. If you confess your crimes and acknowledge your depravity, perhaps the courts will be merciful and spare your life. And now, Count Dracula, if I may trouble you for a bed for the night, let us seek some rest. I must be off to the capital at first light, so I take this opportunity to offer my deepest sympathies for the tragedy you have suffered. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope this sorry affair will prompt you to mend your wicked ways. I bid you all good night.